Honorable Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Omar Abdullah, Mrs. Abdullah, and the special dignitaries from the Government of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi, Businessman of the Year 2008, Mr. Anand Mahendra, Businessman of the Year 2007, members of the jury that selected the Businessman of the Year 2008, Mr. Nitin Kasliwal, Vice Chairman of S. Kumar Nationwide, our partnering sponsor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Businessman of the Year 2008 award ceremony, a celebration of what is most certainly the country's single most coveted award and recognition for the business community. I'd like to now request Mr. Ashok Advani, Chairman and Publisher of Business India Publications, to please come up to the podium.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi, Businessman of the Year 2008. Mr. Omar Abdullah, Honorable Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. And like all good fathers who takes a back seat, a special welcome to the former Chief Minister of Kashmir, Mr. Farooq Abdullah. Mr. Mahendra, thank you for being with us. We're extremely happy to welcome Mr. Oberoi as the Businessman of the Year 2008. Yes, it has been 27 years since Business India instituted this award, selected by eminent panelists, taking upon themselves the task of ensuring that the business community will have a role model it can truly look up to. On each such occasion, the selection of the Businessman of the Year is exceptional to us. But this year, it has acquired a different significance. Not only because we are recognizing one individual as the epitome of corporate excellence and achievement, but also we're doing it at a time of tremendous corporate uncertainty when businesses, not only in India, but globally, face huge challenges. Mr. Oberoi has built a brand that matches the best in the world. But his passion for excellence and the exemplary standards have compelled the hospitality industry, not just in India, but the world over, to take notice, and more important, to follow. A well-deserved choice, and one that all of us at Business India wholeheartedly supported. Mr. Oberoi was to prove how appropriate our choice was. He narrowly escaped being caught in the terrorist attacks that engulfed Mumbai's Oberoi and other landmarks. But he was back very soon, building public confidence, building staff morale, building the Oberoi and his companion Trident back to their glory. He has subsequently set up the Oberoi Care Fund to help victims of the terrorist attacks across the city. But first, in memory of the dead and injured, I would like you all to stand and observe a minute's silence. Thank you. On behalf of Business India and all my colleagues, I would like to thank you for continuing to acknowledge our efforts.
Terrorism has been dominating the national agenda and forcing us to think differently.
Madness is, however, an affliction which in war carries with it the advantage of surprise. And in a sense, terrorism is the same maxim applied in peacetime.
We as India must rise up and must look beyond and talk to the global leaders, economic superpowers, to develop economically.
Terrorists basically inflict damage one day, but expect a lot of collateral damage for several months, if not years thereafter.
I think the key issue is collective responsibility. The state is not going to protect us. We have to protect us.
There is a huge amount of working together that corporate India can do in cooperation with government security agencies and make the whole system more secure.
Corporate India must open communication with its peers in other nations who have faced similar threats.
I think there can be no better response to Pakistan than what has happened in Jammu and Kashmir. The fact that democracy has won in the state of Jammu and Kashmir is a big message to Pakistan in itself.
It would indeed bring shame upon our generation if we did not teach them a lesson which will not be forgotten in the records of 1,000 years.
Corporate India can no longer be a silent spectator.
May I request Mr. Ashok Advani, Chairman and Publisher of Business India Publications, and Mrs. P.R.S.Oberoi Moria, Managing Director of Business India Publications, to please escort to the stage the Honorable Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Omar Abdallah, Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi, the Businessman of the Year 2008, and Mr. Anand Mahindra, Businessman of the Year 2007. May I now call upon Mr. Anand Mahindra, Businessman of the Year 2007 and Chairman of the jury, to come to the podium to say a few words.
Mr. Oberoi, Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Omar Abdullah, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, Ashok, Firoza, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Oberoi, now that you're ensconced in your seat on the dais and have no escape route, let me convey to you the hard reality that this award doesn't come free. Ashok Advani doesn't have in his lexicon the word free. There is no free lunch, there is no free award for him. And I give you the news that you will have to chair the jury next year, which is why I'm here tonight. But you know, this turned out to be a very, very interesting year in which to chair the jury. Wall Street shook. We thought we were decoupled and then found that we were not. And as the year went by, consumer confidence waned dramatically. And then, of course, there was the terrorist attack on Mumbai. So it was a particularly challenging year in which to search for the Businessman of the Year. And all the usual criteria naturally fell by the wayside. It was the worst year in almost a decade for most Indian companies. So all the traditional criteria like recent financial performance, stock price, market capitalization, all of these seemed unfair and almost irrelevant. So my fellow jury members, all of them and I, were compelled to take a very deep breath. And we came to the conclusion that we should be honoring someone who is an icon, someone who amidst all this rubble is still standing proud. Someone who is not just a successful businessman who had showcased India's strengths globally and showed us what we were capable of doing, but also lived up to his credo and got his people to live up to his credo. And actually, I'm proud that we unanimously found, and I stress on the word unanimously found, the perfect winner in this year's Businessman of the Year, Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi. In a country whose predominant stereotype was poverty, he succeeded in building a brand of hotels whose hallmark is the most sophisticated type of luxury and elegance the world has ever seen. In a culture where please adjust and chalta hai are the predominant attitudes, he has built a culture where nothing short of perfection is ever tolerated. So what we are honoring tonight is his daring to be different. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury made its choice in the middle of November. Just a week and a half later, on the 26th, the culture that P.R.S.Oberoi created was subjected to the extreme test. And the exemplary behavior of the Oberoi staff under terrorist fire, the grace under pressure that all of them displayed, was completely inspirational. And when the carnage was over, they put the trauma behind them and rebuilt and reopened and celebrated the victory of hope over despair. In a tragic yet uplifting way, I think, sir, this has validated our choice and justified our belief that in honoring P.R.S.Oberoi, we're honoring a person and an institution that will always stand proud no matter what. But tonight's award, ladies and gentlemen, is the business community's way of saying to you, sir, that we join in the applause. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Mr. Omar Abdullah, the Honorable Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir.
Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi, Mr. Ashok Advani, Mrs. Bilamoria, Mr. Anand Mahindra, my father, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I've been doing this public speaking for 11 years, and I find my knees still knock when it comes to standing up at the dais and actually saying things. My being here is my own small personal tribute to a city I grew to love, a city I have very fond memories of, places in this city that I saw torn apart the end of November, that I spent a lot of happy times at. The Oberoi, the Taj, Leopold Cafe, that whole entire area around Colaba. And therefore I felt it fitting that I come here and pay my own personal tribute to the resilience and the strength of this city. The other part of my personal reason for being here is that I owe a lot to Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi. He was the first person to interview me, not once but twice, once in London and subsequently in Delhi. I started working for him many years ago. I met my wife while I was working there, got married soon after I left, and fortunately have never looked back since then. And therefore there was no way I could turn down an opportunity to come and express my own personal word of thanks to him for giving me the start that he gave me, and also putting my own word of tribute for what he has come to symbolize for India. My professional reason is slightly more selfish. I'm here to plug a state that doesn't often get the opportunity to be plugged at occasions like this. It's a state that's gone through a lot of trouble. It's a state that's gone through a very, very dark period. I'm looking to you to help me to create the conditions that will make you want to invest in Jammu and Kashmir. I have two twin serious problems that I need to address, and both are linked to each other. One is the problem of employment. The other is the problem of unemployability. And it is the problem of unemployability that I believe the corporate India can help me with. There are huge opportunities that we can give you. All I ask of you is the opportunity from your part to me to be able to create that infrastructure. You're all businessmen, and I'm realistic enough to know that business goes where profit is possible. I can't possibly ask you to come to Jammu and Kashmir as a charity case. I want you to come and become successful business models there. And I know it's possible. There is a lot that Jammu and Kashmir has to give you personally and professionally. Just give us a chance. This evening is not about me. It's not about Jammu and Kashmir. This evening is about Mr. P.R.S.Oberoi. And therefore, without further ado, I'd just like to say what a privilege and a pleasure it is for me to have been given this opportunity. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Advani, Mrs. Bilamoria, and Mr. Mahindra, could I please now ask you to escort the Honourable Chief Minister back to the front of the stage along with Mr. Oberoi. The moment we have all been waiting for, Business India is proud to announce Mr. Oberoi as the Businessman of the Year 2008. Oberoi, could I trouble you to come to the podium to say a few words?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I thank Mr. Anand Mahindra, Chairman of the jury, Mr. Ashok Advani, the jury of Business India, for nominating me as the businessman of the year 2008. Several years ago, we took an important decision. We decided that the Oberoi brand should be as good, if not better, than the best hotel brands globally. This meant that the physical attributes of our hotels must be upgraded. This was not enough. Our staff selection processes had to be improved. We undertook a program which meant careful selection, meticulous training, and encouraging a spirit of teamwork within the company. I believe that in the ultimate analysis, in any service industry, it is service that counts. During the past few years, I've personally received hundreds of letters from guests complimenting us on the excellent standards we have achieved. I'm often asked, what is your biggest asset? My answer invariably is the same. Our biggest asset is our people. In all humility, I must say that this award that I've received today is a recognition that we have the best employees in the hospitality industry. And they showed their guts during the terrorist attacks. I'm proud that the Oberoi brand is recognized worldwide as a luxury hotel brand. Credit for this must go to our people who have worked tirelessly for many years. Before I conclude, I would like to share a couple of thought-provoking anecdotes with you. Soon after I joined business, I was sitting with my father in his office. It was late afternoon when he usually had his tea. He said to me, "Bicky, I want you to remember something which you must never, never forget. I know that you think that you're clever, smart, and well off. Always remember that there are many, many more people in India and around the world who are cleverer, smarter, and much richer than you are. Please also remember that courtesy and humility never killed anyone." As a young man, I did not pay much attention to my father's advice. However, as time passed, I remembered his words, how true they were. On another occasion, he told me, "Never think of money or riches. Always do the right thing. Money will come." And how right he was. The year 2008 has been one of the worst in our lifetimes. There have been many natural disasters which have caused untold misery to people in many parts of the world. The credit crunch and the subsequent financial crisis have affected most of us. We had the terrorist attack on the city, the consequences of which all of you know. As Queen Elizabeth II said several years ago when she had family troubles, the last year was annus horribilis. In other words, a horrible year. We all hope that this coming year will be better. I once again thank the jury, Mr. Mahindra, Mr. Advani, Mrs. Bilamoria, for the honor that has been bestowed on me. I'm truly honored.